I'm going to try and explain why we've chosen to look at challenging corporate power this year. I'm going to try and link in the speakers that we've picked to hear from today into some kind of coherent whole, and we're going to throw in some provocative questions and outrageous statements just to get people enlivened. So we need to see whether the old changing thing is going to work. Hey there, are you doing that, Mackenzie? So I just wave at Mackenzie. Fair enough. We've had a bit of technical issues so far. So there are three sets. I'm going to briefly say what do we mean by corporate power. Then I'm going to say, oh yeah, I can read this here. And then I'm going to say, talk a little bit about how consumers or citizens are challenging it. And then the final bit is about how this is affected by the changing political landscape. So, next. Hooray, there we go. So, this is what we mean by corporate power. And kind of size is everything is the first slide. And the problem with corporate power is the size of corporations. And this is, people have done work, and when you look at a corporation and you look at how much money it puts through the system, it's very hard to know what to compare it with. And really GDP of countries is the only thing that people have come up with that has bigger numbers. And so, occasionally you see people put these lists together. And this is a slightly hashed together list that fits on the screen. It shows that once you get to number 40, which is Colombia, the corporations really start filling up the numbers down there. So the biggest economic entities in the world, the first 40 are kind of countries, but below 40, they begin to be companies. There are 500 companies, there are thousands of companies and only 180 countries as well. And so when they gang up against you, there's a huge force there. We can see Walmart there. It's just nearly at number 22, completely exceptional. It's nearly in the G20. What's happening? We also know that it takes. So the problem with this size is it gives them huge amounts of discretionary income. I mean, if you look at 1% of the 1 billion turnover that Samsung's with 174 billion turnover, that's like 1.7 billion pounds. It's just 1% of what they turn over. That means that they can fund lawyers whenever they want. If they see a problem, they get a rack of lawyers. They can get a think tank to put out a piece of report, hundreds of these things, whenever they come across problems. And so corporations are pursuing their own self-interest, short-term self-interest, but they've got a lot of cash just to throw at these problems in the sense that no one else can. So size everything. Next one. Thanks, Mackenzie. So a couple of history slides. So corporate power isn't a new problem. People have seen it happen before. And traditionally, economics has got an idea of monopolies and that you break them up. We like to quote from US presidents to show that they weren't all right-wing idiots. And this is frankly, the liberty of a democracy is not safe, and people tolerate the growth of private power to a point where it becomes stronger than their democratic state itself. That, in essence, is fascism. So, So we're talking about corporate power here, and the question is, when did we last see a mainstream politician in the West talking about corporate power like this? I don't know, maybe someone will come up to me and go, someone did it last week, and I just missed the point. Should we do the next one? So in the past, because breaking up big companies was what they did, people understood that monopolies were dangerous and they broke them up. Classic case is Standard Oil, broken up into 36 separate companies in 1911. It was just too big. The idea of breaking up Walmart or Uber or Amazon into 36 separate companies just fills me with delight. But globalisation has seen the language of meaningful monopoly regulation evaporate almost everywhere. It's a big old subject, that one. We haven't got time to look into it today. But the solutions that we had in the past aren't with us anymore. So we'll just go to the next one. We're not the only ones who are worried. People have put out big books about it. Classic is George Monbiot's Captive State in the UK. William Grinders, who will tell the people about US democracy and the dominance of the corporate voice there. Big, serious pieces of work. We can move on to the next one. This is a bit of work that we, as a typical consumer, you can, it's you can analyse the way that they can capture democracies. And we've got four observable behaviours down the left. Lobbying to create economically favourable rules in more areas. And the example is pushing for international treaties like TTIP with corporate courts able to overturn moral rules. Now we're super excited to have Nick Dearden from Global Justice Now speaking here. Global Justice Now done masses of work around TTIP, a really big player in trying to fight against it in the UK. So I'm pretty excited to hear what he's got to say about that. Bribery and corruption, don't need to say much more about that. Media control, controlling the areas of debate to support the business agenda. Murdoch and News International, classic example. We've got a couple of speakers on a little media session immediately after me this morning. We've got Richard Wilson from Stop Funding Hate. I won't tell you what he's going to say because he's going to say it in a bit. And also we've got Sean Dagenwood from Positive News. And these are both new, very fast growing groups that have existed to try and do something in this space. Finally, there's the revolving doors, appointments rewarding friendly politicians with lucrative directorships. So, and I suppose it's important to understand that worthy difference to democratic governance is what we've got across the top there. A slightly complicated idea, but it's not like corporations are trying to capture democracies. They're just indifferent to the damage that they do to it. They're pursuing their own short-term interest, often quarterly results, by using the huge resources that they have to intervene at every stage in the political process. We'll come on to indifference again. If we go on to the next one, Catch-22, we need regulation, but the regulation is captured, where the regulator is captured. We're not the only person to have spotted this. Of all the market failures, those massive concentrations of wealth are the most worrying, because in the end they can be used to undermine the market itself and the reality of democracy. So actually, the democratic control is slipping away. Corporations have grown so big. Not a lot of evidence that the normal democratic processes are really on top of it. We move on to the next one. And this means that there's a special role for citizens, for consumers. George Monbiot, who's famously disses ethical consumerism at most opportunities, even he conceded that though the power of consumers is, as I suggested, limited, while governments are ever more reluctant to regulate, citizens seem to be able to force corporations to shoulder a few of their responsibilities. Again, Marina Hertz, popular pressure is doing something that can't all work, holding corporations accountable. So, and this is kind of why ethical consumer is in this space. It's because what else can we do? So if we move on to the next section, we're looking at consumers and corporate power. The first few slides, just a little bit about what ethical consumer does. This is an ethical consumer ranking table from a printed copy of the magazine. Has everyone seen put up your hand if you've seen a printed copy of the magazine? Most people, I think, here. I won't go into if we look at the mission statement down the bottom, for over 20 years we've been the hub of helping consumers to shop ethically, campaigners to challenge corporate power and businesses to improve their supply chains. It's unusual for ethical consumer groups to put challenging corporate power as part of what they do. Normally people provide information with environment, animals and people in those main sections there, buying advice. And we're a bit of an outlier in this movement in that we put challenging corporate power at the heart of what we do. And we have a final section there on politics. It's interesting. Lots of people, when we talked we nearly got the BBC to run with a lot of this stuff. They didn't want the politics, but they liked the environment and all this sort of stuff. But actually, this conference has sold out quicker than any of the others that we've done. So in a sense, I feel there's almost more enthusiasm around this political stuff than perhaps you would imagine that you would find. It's a bit like trying to understand. Perhaps it's the changing political landscape. We don't know. So either way, most people know it. In the politics, we have a thing called political activity, a little column there. And if we find a corporation doing things that we don't like politically, we'll give it a little red dot there. And we can see Philips has got a little red dot, I think, and below it, Mitsubishi's got a half red dot. And we can see if we can just hop on to the next slide. And this is what sits behind those little red dots, and we can see political lobbying. It says, according to Open Secrets, Philips made political contributions totaling $91,000 in 2016 to Hillary Clinton and Tom Price and various people in the States. There's a lot of detail in the States about where. And it's also a member of a couple of lobby groups down the bottom. And here, one of the things that we look out for is international lobby groups that are lobbying for kind of neoliberal trade policies and free trade generally at the expense of environment and workers' rights. And we've got, and there's a list here that our researchers work with. And one of the other people that we're excited to welcome is someone from Corporate Europe Observatory, which is a kind of core NGO based in the Netherlands that does the heavy lifting work on this, and in a sense we just lift all their data. So we're really, for the geeky researchers amongst us, we're really excited to hear from them. And they, we would have heard of European roundtables of industrialists had it not been for Corporate Europe Observatory, who sit there and tell us what's going on. Vicky Han is speaking this afternoon on that, so I'm excited at least. So if we move on to the next one. So the underlying assumptions in our rankings are companies shouldn't be funding political parties because we give them a market they do. Companies should not be lobbying against social and environmental protections or for free trade globally, so we also give them a mark for that. And companies should not be corrupting politicians with offers of money or employment. There's a kind of amusing quote from George Orwell: people that elect corrupt politicians are not victims but accomplices, just for a bit of amusement. But not relevant, just stumbling across it anyway. So these three slides just explained a little bit about Ethical Consumer's current rationale around corporate power and how we rank it. We move on to the next slide. I'll just try and situate this. So for the purpose of this argument, we can talk about two types of ethical consumer campaigning. One is challenging corporate power in particular markets and supply chains, like fair trade, organic, or FSC. They're challenging the corporate power that says, this is how we want to employ people or how we want to cut down trees or all this stuff. So there's detail. People are challenging corporate power inside those markets, but there's also challenging corporate power generally in its effect on our democracies. And this is kind of what we're here to talk about today. If we do the next slide. So we measure type 1 challenges, so these are the detail of markets in our annual ethical consumer markets report. These campaigns have led to perhaps around 7% of all consumer spending being modified in this way. The vision is a society where this solidarity economy grows from 7% to become the dominant method of production, and we have seen it in some markets. We talked about that quite a lot last year. But at the current rate of change, this may take more than 50 years. You can see a slow incline going on up here. It's happening, but there are a lot of problems that feel they need solving quicker than that. I'm going to introduce something. Oh yeah, there's a dot which tells me that I introduced. So, although the main theme around today's conference is challenging corporate power in the political sense, we are also looking at some of the particular markets. We're sponsored by Ecology Building Society, who are one of the solidarity economy companies. We've got quite a lot of the workshops that we've got are looking at particular markets and how people are challenging inside there. So the main thing is that, but there's lots of around this type 1 particular market challenges going on. Can we do the next one? Thank you. So it's the second type, which is the main focus of this conference. It's not more important, but it's more than just another category of corporate malpractice. Although we've got political activity on this, it's of a different order of thing. It's part of an overarching narrative, and one that's been changing fast over the last couple of months. So if we move on to the next slide, how are we doing for time?
5 minutes.
I started late. Okay. So just 3 quick slides demonstrating impact. We're quite excited to have some of us along here, one of the new internet campaigning organisations. They're presumably going to talk about some of their own impact, so I won't go into detail here because time is short. We move on to the next one. Our own impact for ethical consumer, we could tell a lot of stories. One of our favourite ones is in 1994, more than 20 years ago. We were among those out of United biscuits, one of the largest donors to the Conservative Party. No one was really talking about it at that time. A year later, they announced a moratorium on political donations. It was worth £1 million a year just by putting it in the press and talking about it. Fantastic. Next one, please. Another famous case is Apple and the US Chamber of Commerce. In 2009, Apple abruptly left the US Chamber of Commerce because of the Chamber's opposition to plans to reduce US greenhouse gas emissions. This was following criticism from Greenpeace and others. 3 smaller companies had left the previous week, and Nike had resigned from the US Chamber of Commerce's board. It's quite interesting. The Chamber of Commerce is a big old thing across lots of things, and it's quite significant that people were walking away from it, particularly companies of Apple's size. And this shows the impact that consumer systems have. Apple is not a trivial company. It's very big, and its impact on the US Chamber of Commerce was immense. So we'll move on to the next one. We used the same pictures last year, got a laugh, so we put them on here again. So, this is part C. We're on the home straight now. The changing political landscape. Political parties supporting the neoliberal status quo have been perhaps unexpectedly losing ground to others. There's a list of the various ones. It's not just Corbyn and Trump. It's happening in a lot of places. Let's go to the next one. As we asked last year, is this the death of neoliberalism? If so, last year we didn't have Trump and we had Brexit, but we didn't have Trump and we didn't have Corbyn. So things have moved on a little bit. Is this the death of neoliberalism? So we had a bit of a discussion around that. And there are lots of writers in here suggesting it might. If so, it presents exciting opportunities since ethical consumer is designed to cause problems for neoliberalism. We're not unhappy to see it go. Some companies, such as Co-op supermarkets and Ecotricity, another one, are funding Corbyn's exciting new project. They're called Labour Partner Funders. And this is a point at which to introduce, we've got someone from Co-op Party speaking, no less than, I think they're, the CEO, that's what she's called, Claire McCarthy, who's coming along to tell us about the Co-op Party, which is having a rather exciting time at the moment. After going through a bit of an existential crisis in the last 5 years, Ecotricity is another one. How ethical consumer, we're still marking them down because all political donations are bad, as companies should not be in this space. Is this right? Perhaps we should give them a positive mark, because they're actually giving a kick-in to neoliberalism. So these are the kind of things that are running through our heads as the landscape is changing. Let's do the next slide. I wonder what's on there. So, yeah, we know that climate change lobbying, takes sides. Heather mentioned it this morning. I won't spend a lot of time on this one. Here are some of the names. So is lobbying for good a good thing? So the potential of lobbying for good is something we're also going to talk about today. If we move on to the next slide. Is it possible to have socially responsible lobbying policy? If so, do we want these companies in our political space too? At last year's conference, we thought we probably did. So we've also got, this is my red dot, says that this is where we introduce someone. So we've got Paul Monaghan speaking for us. He wrote a book a few years ago called Lobbying for Good, which looks at the impacts that they've done. He was also involved in quite a lot of direct lobbying, heading up the co-op groups policy elements there. This is just a little table that we put out following Trump's election at the brands backing Trump and the brands opposing Trump at that time. So it's a classic ethical consumer thing. Have a look for the brands, put them in lists, and just throw it into the mix. I won't look at the detail. This stuff will be online when we get it to work after the event. So let's do the next one. How are we doing for time? Thanks. Yannis on his motorbike. But the changing landscape also brings with it alarming threats as well as exciting opportunities. Yanis Varoufakis came out with this quote that kind of stuck with me a bit. The imperative to oppose racism trumps opposition to neoliberal policies. So it seems very clear to him that the imperative is to work with your allies. no matter the fact that they're neoliberal corporations, otherwise he might not be kicking. I mean, we haven't got him here to actually ask whether that's what he meant, but that's kind of what it looks like he meant. You know, so does this mean we need to work with good corporates more? Mackenzie, can we have the next one? Thank you. Bit of a complicated slide, but it's wonderful at the end. So we're just kind of beginning to sum up. So indifference to democracy among big corporations lobbying for their own short-term goals is likely to be one of the main causes of the crisis our democracy faces. So it's actually a causal factor here. It's promoted a neoliberal agenda which is clearly not working for significant numbers of people overall. The danger of people losing faith in democracy itself has a chilling political history. So do we need to work with good corporates which support evidence-based problem solving, or as the cause of this crisis, do we stick to our guns and insist they stay out of our political space entirely? I don't know the answer to this question, and I'm kind of hoping that some of the discussion today will kind of help me understand it. Maybe someone does. But, you know, we're in a new space. No one's been here before. So let's move on to possibly the last slide. Nearly there. You know, possible solutions. We know, you know, proper transparency over who is lobbying who and why. There's quite a lot of transparency initiatives, even some brought in by David Cameron that are famously rubbish. But you know, a lot of, in a sense, the regulators can do transparency a bit, as long as you don't have to try too hard. Maybe some of the campaigners later on today will talk about, you know, guidelines about what socially responsible lobbying policy and practice looks like. Maybe we might hear about some of that this afternoon. But working with, you know, most importantly, certainly for us here, is working with consumers to raise the profile of the idea of corporate power. The notion of corporate power isn't really in mainstream political discourse at the moment. It may well come if it's all but you know, people can't challenge it if they don't know that it's a problem. Other possible solutions, something else we haven't thought of. Maybe that will come up today as well. If we move on to the last slide. So this is just summing up what I've talked about. We talked about what we mean by corporate power. We defined it a little bit. We looked at how consumers, citizens are challenging it, some of the examples of success. You know, and the final bit is how is this affected by Trump and rise of the far right, the changing political landscape. And there's a polite cartoon of the democracy slipping out of your hands to be amusing at the end. So that's it. So thanks very much, everyone.